It's that time of the month to go over all the books that I read in March. What an amazing month I had. I had some ups, I had some downs, but overall, I think I'm pretty satisfied with how many books I read and how much I enjoyed them. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing my March wrap up with all the books that I had read. I think that I had an amazing month. I can't wait to share with you my thoughts and feelings throughout the month whenever I was reading these books. Before we get started, I do have a few announcements to make. One, I am now a Bookish Box ambassador. You'll find my link below to my storefront. You can always go there and shop the items that I have displayed that I absolutely love, or you can shop their entire website. You don't have to be a subscriber to do that. You also can check out their shirts, sweatshirts, joggers. I absolutely love all of their clothing and apparel. I feel like they have a good vast array of different genres and books and different things that you would like. So make sure that you click my link below and head on over there and maybe pick up a shirt or two, maybe a book, who knows, whatever you are wanting. Also, over on my Patreon, starting in April, we are going to be doing Patreon only sprints. So make sure that you click my Patreon link below and become a Patreon member so you can be a part of the sprints. Also, I am going to be starting a new series over there for Patreon exclusive members. I got this idea from one of my subscribers who had emailed me, and they had told me about a better way to get through those 24 books of 2024 that I have sitting on my shelf. And I hope that you come and enjoy the ride because I think it's going to be a fun little thing. I am going to read like the first 2 chapters. If I like it, I'm going to continue. I think that's going to be a good way to kind of chip away at them throughout the month. So make sure that you are a Patreon member and you don't miss out on the sprints. The book club pick of the month, which will be Flawless by Elsie Silver. Come over and talk with us about your thoughts and feelings, also so you don't miss that new video series that I will have up on my Patreon. You can always check any of my other links below to my socials, my Pango Books account, my Amazon wishlist, and so much more. Also make sure that you like and subscribe. I always want you to come back, give me feedback, give me some ideas, tell me what you think that I would enjoy reading, what should I prioritize. Let's just talk anything books. So, with all the announcements out of the way, let's get into my wrap up. I read 17 books in March. I am going to be going in order for the books that I read first to the books that I read last. And I hope that you enjoy the content that I had consumed in March. If you have watched my previous videos, you will have seen that I went into somewhat of a book slump and I was trying to get out of it, found a perfect way to get out of it, and I can't wait to share that read with you and my thoughts and feelings. And let's get into the first book that I read. The first book that I ended up finishing in March is Shadowlands by Stacey Marie Brown. This is the 6th and final book in the Savage Lands series. I am so happy that this series is done. I was enjoying my time with books 1 through 3, but then you get to book 4 and even 5. I had lost entire interest. I didn't want to continue. I did trudge through the 6th and final book because I just wanted to get it off of my TBR, get it out of the way. I ended up giving it a 2-star. I don't feel like this series as a whole needed to be as long as it was. I felt like there were way too many conveniences, way too many repetitive scenes and repetitive things that had happened. I also feel like we were running around in circles. Book 5 starts in one place and ends in the exact same place. Like there was no progression at all. So if you aren't familiar with what this series is about, you are following our main girl who basically was raised by the king, and whenever the walls fell between the human and the Fae realms, there was a war. She ends up taking her place of privilege and transporting the medicine and the supplies and everything that go to the elite and puts it into the black market for the underprivileged so they can have what they need. need. But she ends up getting caught whenever she is in the Fae realm and ends up in a prison where a lot of things happen to our girl. She meets a legend who people think that isn't even real, and we just follow her on her journey. I do want to say some of the things in this series I did enjoy. I enjoyed the plot twist. I enjoyed some things that we learned out about our girl or the politics in this land. But overall, I feel like even though it was an addicting series that I did want to keep reading, the writing wasn't great. The world building, plot, romance, all of it wasn't very well developed, I guess. And I just kind of fell out of it. The nostalgia, the feeling of wanting to keep reading just kind of wore off very quickly. I am happy that I read it. I can see why there are some people that do love this series. I just feel like it's not a series for me, and I'm just happy that I got through it. I then ended up picking up Restless Slumber by KJ Sutton, which is book 2 in the Fortuna Sworn series. I had started Fortuna Sworn, I want to say a year ago, and I had gotten like an audio arc of it, and I really enjoyed it. I wanted to continue, but I don't understand why I didn't. I don't really remember what the circumstances were, but I ended up diving back into this world. It picked up right where it left off. It had me consumed. I was loving every minute of it. I decided to pick it up on audio as well. It was such a well-developed story. I can't wait to get into the 3rd book, which I'm hoping I can do in the next month or two, because I really want to get caught up with this series. I really feel like there is a lot of potential in this world, considering that we also have Fae. We have so many different types of mythical creatures that we're following. There is like a love triangle. Our girl is a nightmare. If you're unfamiliar with what Fortuna Sworn is about, it is a dark fantasy romance where she is looking for her brother. Her brother's been missing for a couple years, and she is like the last of her kind, the last nightmare. She ends up entangled with a Fae, and he says, I will take you to my brother if you marry me. So she ends up marrying him, and I don't really want to spoil anything because there were so many politics, so much story weaving and things going on that had me gripped. I'm really curious to see where we're going with the love triangle. I feel like I kind of know where it's gonna go, but then I don't, because authors, love to reel you in. They love to make you think one way, and then something else is going to happen. So I'm just so excited to continue Fortuna's journey into this world, learn about the politics. I have heard that this world becomes so expansive that I am so excited to get to that. After I finished up that book, I was in my fantasy romance era. I was like, I need more fantasy romance. So I have heard nothing but good things about this series. I ended up picking it up, and that is Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This is a 4-book series. The 4th book will be coming out, I think, this summer. It's so good. It is a slow burn. It has politics. Basically, you are following our girl. She is a healer, and she is in like the mortal city because she is human. And then you also have the elite, which have powers. They're kind of similar to gods, but not really. And she ends up going into the palace. She's trying to dig around to find things, comes across the prince, ends up working alongside him to find out what is going on. I don't want to run anything else, but this story is so good. I feel like the world building in book 1, the politics, and the way that the characters are set up really is setting up to be a great series. So I'm super hyped to get to the 2nd book, which I think is called Glow of the Everflame. And I know that it's bigger and a lot longer than this book, but I highly suggest, if you do like fantasy romance and a good slow burn with a lot of world building and politics and character development that is very well thought out, I highly suggest try out this. This is called the Kindred's Curse saga, I believe. I'm so excited that one of the booktubers that I watch was raving about it. I picked it up, and I do not regret a single moment. I ended up starting to read some of my in-person book club picks this month, and one of them ended up being my Patreon book club pick as well. And that is Gothicana by Rue Nix. This is a dark romance, and I have to say, I have some very mixed thoughts about it. I ended up giving it a 2-star because whenever I ended up finishing this book, I sat there and said, what did I just read? Because the story has a lot of premise and it has a lot of good ways that it could have been better, but I don't feel like it was fleshed out. I don't feel like there was a whole lot of chemistry between our two main characters. Basically, you are following our girl whose mother was in a psychiatric ward, and so was she. She ends up being invited to go to this academy at 21. I think it's like a college type thing. She ends up going. She meets one of her professors. Of course, she's stricken by him. Why wouldn't she be? We're following their kind of chemistry, romance dynamic. I did not feel it. I may be in one of the minorities here. I did not feel their romance. There is a mystery going on because there are students at the academy that are dying and they don't know why. She's hearing voices. Different things are happening. I don't know. Maybe this book didn't hit the way that it was supposed to. I feel like there is supposed to be a lot more going on and there wasn't. So is there going to be another book? Is this just a standalone? I'm quite confused about a lot of things in this book. I did enjoy my time somewhat, but I did find myself being bored with the storyline. I didn't feel like there was a lot of progression. I felt like some of the things we focused on were needless and we didn't need to deal with that. So again, I just gave it 2 stars. I really wasn't feeling this book. So if you have read Gothicana, please send me a message on Instagram or in my email, which you can find in my description box. Let's talk about it because maybe I'm missing something. I finally got through book 7 in the Blood Grace series, which is the final book that is currently published, and that is Blood Gift by Vila Roth. This is a chunker of a book. It's a whirlwind. At this point in the story, I'm wowed. I can't believe certain things that have happened, revelations that have came about, where we're going with the story. Just everything is so amazing. This is a politically dense fantasy romance with a happily ever after guaranteed. You do follow Cassia and Leo throughout their journey. He's a Hesperine, which is like a vampire. She is the bastard daughter of the king of Tenebra. They work together. They fall in love. They're trying to change things for both of their cities, worlds where they grew up, and change the politics in the course of history. And by this point, I can't tell you a single thing in book 7 because it's going to ruin everything, and I don't want that to happen. But if you do like a fantasy romance that's very dense, it is slow moving in parts, I'm not going to lie. There are times where you just put it down and you don't feel compelled to pick it up, but then whenever you do and you dive back into the story, there is just so many plot twists, so many different things that happen in here between the whole cast of characters. And I know that Vila Roth has just announced that she has finally finished writing book 8, which will be Blood Feast, which will be coming out later this year. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get into that. It will wrap up Leo and Cassia's story, but I have a feeling that certain side characters are going to be getting spin-offs because there is so much more that needs to be talked about, and I can't wait. I was just on a roll, you guys. I was wanting to read by some authors that I absolutely love. And of course, if you've been here for a while, you also know that the indie author Luna Laurier is one of my new favorite authors. So I ended up reading book 2, which is To Ashes and Dust. I don't know how many books are going to be in this series, but this is a new adult paranormal romance. It deals with gods. It deals with immortals, reincarnation, magic, vampire type creatures. It deals with so much, and we are trying to solve a mystery on who is behind everything, what is going to happen to Cassie, what is going to happen to all of our cast of characters. This book shattered me. I'm not going to lie. There was a part in here that I was sobbing uncontrollably. I was messaging the author and I was like, how could you rip my heart out? And of course she said it was really hard for her to write. There is another part in this book that can be quite triggering. So definitely make sure you check trigger warnings because it kind of took me by shock as well. But I hope that you guys try Luna Laurier. The first book is called Of Shadow and Moonlight. There is a little novella in between books 1 and 2 called called Tipped in Frost and Blood. And then you go on to book 2, which is To Ashes and Dust. She is finishing up book 2.5, which is the novella that is going to go in between books 2 and 3. I already know who it's going to be surrounded around, and I can't wait to read it. I am so excited. She just finished up her Kickstarter for a deluxe edition of Shadow and Moonlight. Now we are going to be getting audiobooks for all of them. I cannot wait. I highly suggest, if you do like paranormal romance, pick this series up. Now, this is the time in the month that I went down a dark romance rabbit hole. I picked up my in-person book club pick for March, which is the Zodiac Queen Season 1, where you are having 3 novella type books bound into one, and you are following a guy from each zodiac sign. The premise of this book is where you have one queen. She is to spend a month in that zodiac sign with each guy. At the end of the 12 months, there will be an auction, and someone can bid to basically buy her, and that's who she spends basically the rest of her life with. But after the auction ends, every year, every month, she still has to spend one night with each one of the guys from the zodiac sign. So she's never gonna be just a monogamous type person in a relationship. She is gonna have to share herself among everybody. I devoured this book. I didn't think that I was gonna like it. I was like, okay, I need to read it, so I have something to talk to about the girls. I was shook on how much I loved this. It takes place in Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, I believe. I think are the 3 signs that start out. Aries, he's a guy. Taurus was not so good. And then Gemini as well. I loved it so much. I was flying through it. I couldn't put it down. I was like, oh my goodness. It is smutty. It is spicy. It has a good plot. There's a mystery going on. There's so much compacted in like a 290-page book. So I highly suggest, if you like dark romance and you think that synopsis, the brief synopsis I gave you, is going to be worth reading, I highly suggest trying this out, because wait until you hear what else happened in the rest of the month. The next book was another in-person book club pick, and that is The Fabric of Souls. This is on Kindle Unlimited. It is a dark romance. You are following our girl who suffers from mental health, so definitely check trigger warnings before you go into this book. She suffers from mental health. Her brother is trying to help her out because they don't have their parents anymore. She ends up going to Montana, I believe, to an unconventional mental institute where, yes, you are put into your own room and you are taking medications and going through therapy, but you are also allowed to wander the ground. People are able to have some good times, if you know what I mean. It's very unconventional, and she ends up meeting a guy in the hospital who is a nurse. Whenever she ends up going to this unconventional institute, he's there and he is going to be her basically roommate, I guess, and it goes from there. This book, for the first 60 to 90 pages, I was kind of like, okay, what is happening? What am I reading? I wasn't fully invested in the story. And then you get to like the 100-page mark and it takes off. There are so many tropes that I can't even tell you about because it would ruin everything. But you have a mystery. It's like a thriller. It's a romance. It's a dark romance. A found family. There are so many things about this book that the twists and turns really got me. Then you get to about 220 pages in. You're getting towards the end of it because it is under 300 pages. The twist happened. My jaw dropped to the floor. Oh my goodness. And the way this book ended had me in tears. Straight tears. So if you do like a dark romance and none of the trigger warnings affect you, I highly suggest checking this book out. It's a 4-star. I will forever remember this book no matter what. I just didn't give it 5 stars because it did take me a little bit of time to get into the book, but wow, I am so happy I read it. And then I finally finished all of my in-person book club picks, and I ended up reading Credence by Penelope Douglas. This book has been talked about for several years now. Some people absolutely love it. Some people don't like it. I mean, you know, there's not really an in-between. You're following our girl where her parents have died, and she thinks that she has no family left. She is going to be staying with her mother's assistant until her personal cell phone rings, where hardly anybody has the number. She is told that she has an uncle in Colorado that lives in the mountains and that she can come live with him until she turns 18, but it is her choice. She doesn't have to. She ends up going and finds out that her uncle really isn't her blood uncle. It's just like a step uncle, but he wasn't close to her father. And then he also has 2 boys, so she has 2 cousins that are not even blood cousins. They don't even know each other. So she ends up living with them, and it's in this rural mountain town where whenever it starts snowing, they're going to be snowed in for 4 or 5 months. So she is kind of preparing for that. This is a romance. This is a very unconventional type romance. I had to keep telling myself throughout this book, they're not blood relatives, because it was really throwing me off on several things that were happening. But by the end, I ended up really enjoying this book. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't the worst. I did have a good time reading it. I just don't feel like it was a book that's going to sit with me for a long time. But I do suggest it if you like dark romance. You want something that's more like a small town type feel. All right, this is where things became unhinged. I finally got through Credence, and I was like, I need to go into season 2 of the Zodiac Queen because I need to continue this story. And by this point, I'm swooning over one of the guys. I'm really invested in the story. I'm wanting to know what is happening. I want to know what's going to happen. So I end up reading it. I'm devouring it. I think I read it literally in one night. I couldn't stop. By the end of season 2, you get through the next 3 zodiac signs, which I think is Cancer, Leo, and Virgo or Libra. I don't even know the zodiac signs. Don't even listen to me. But basically, I was like, okay, there are some twists and turns. We find out some more things that are going on with the plot. We find out more about why this happens, why they have this queen and all the zodiac guys. And the spice is good. I'm not gonna lie. The spice is amazing. So definitely went down a rabbit hole. I couldn't stop reading. And of course, you know, I ended up reading season 3 of the Zodiac Queen because, again, it left up on a cliffhanger that I couldn't stop. I honestly couldn't stop. And then I get through season 3. Things happen. The cliffhanger is absolutely horrible. Like, I cannot believe this cliffhanger happened and season 4 isn't coming out until October. I have to wait over 6 months before I can finally find out what happens, and it's going to tear me apart inside. I had no idea that it wasn't a finished series. So know that going in before you go, that the 4th season is going to be coming out in October. I don't even know if it's going to be the end of the series. There may be another book after that that wraps everything up, or it may be wrapped up in season 4. I don't know, because it's the last 3 of the zodiac signs and then the auction happens. So we have no idea what's going to happen. I cannot wait. I'm going to be in absolute torture for the rest of the year until I can finally get my hands on season 4. This is the point in the month where things take a turn for the absolute worst. If you have been watching any of my recent videos, you know that I went into a book slump, and it was hard. A very hard book slump, because I ended up reading book 2 in the Red Queen series, which is Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. I ended up loving Red Queen, and I couldn't wait to continue. And then this book came out. I read it, and I did not have a good time. I was like, what is happening? There really isn't any plot progression. I felt like it was very stale. The writing wasn't that great. The plot wasn't that great. There's no romance. I mean, just so many things that I was wanting did not happen in this book. Granted, it is continuing the story, and it is setting you up for the rest of the series. This put me in such a major book slump. I did not want to read anything after this, and I did have one of my subscribers who thankfully gave gave me the idea about that book series, for the 24 books, had emailed me and said that sometimes the second book isn't the greatest and the rest of the series is. So I am going to try the third book maybe in the next couple months. See if I do like the series. I know that I previously said that I'm DNFing the series, but I think I will give book 3 a try just to see if it is the second book syndrome or if I'm just not in love with this series, but that's how I feel. So I'm in my book slump and I don't know how to get out of it. So I thought, let's just change up some genres. Let's read something that's more a little lighthearted, if you will, and not fantasy. So I picked up The Deal by L. Kennedy. This book was okay. I gave it 3 stars. I really enjoyed the story and the plot of these characters about how it's like a tutor type situation and he's like the jock, the one that's like really good at hockey, and she is not really somebody that's extra popular. They end up pairing up because she is tutoring him, and of course the romance goes from there. I did enjoy it. I had a good time reading it, but it just didn't hit the way that I thought it would. I don't know if that was me being in my book slump or if it was just the book in general. I just don't have a feeling that I'm going to continue on with this series. I think it's the Briar U series or the Off-Campus series. I don't think I'm going to continue on. I do know what book 2 or who book 2 is going to be about. But, I'm just okay with this being a standalone. I'm happy I read it. I'm happy that I know why so many people love this series. Don't think that it's a series for me, and that's okay. It's not that it's terrible. It just didn't hit the way that it should. So I'm still dealing with my book slump at this point. I don't know what to do. So I get on NetGalley because I had already finished up all the arcs that I needed to. So I had nothing pending. And I just started rolling through and I saw a book that was going to be coming out. I think it is April 5th or April 9th, one of the two. And that is The Other Side of the Mirror by Dana Evan. This is book 1 in the Mirror trilogy. So it is going to be coming out within a week and a half of this video coming out. I'm gonna tell you right now, this book solely got me out of my book slump. It is a fantasy romance. It is so good. You are following our girl whose parents had died whenever she was younger. I think she was 17 whenever they passed. She had no idea about magic or anything. During that time, she is pushed through the mirror. She's told to go to her friend's house. She does, and her friend's family raises her, where then again, her friend's parents die as well. So it's just them two, and they go to college, do all of these things. Now, several years later, they're older, and she just doesn't really want to date and fall in love. She does date around, but she cuts it off before she falls in love because she just doesn't want to deal with that. Things happen, you guys. Revelations happen. She finds out that there's a whole nother world out there of fae, of magic, different things that go on. In this world, you have what's called anima, which are basically mates. She is being taken to the crown prince, who everyone believes the prophecy that she is the anima of the crown prince. So whenever they get them together, the curse will be lifted and everybody will go back to having a good time. However, that is not how this book is gonna go. It is a dark fantasy romance. Our girl goes on an adventure. Things happen. I could not put this book down. It was so good. I don't know if this is the author's debut novel. I don't know if they have written other books. I need to research that. I am desperate for book 2 because I do love my fantasy romance and I love my fae fantasy romance. But this story was so unique and so well done that I could not stop. So I highly suggest, if you are a fantasy romance lover, pick this book up whenever it comes out. So finally, out of my book slump, I'm getting through the books that I had picked off of my TBR cart because I was desperate to get through them because I want to clear that cart off, and you would have already seen my video of my number generator. It picks the books off of my TBR cart, so I'm so excited for April. But I picked up The Do-Over by Lynn Painter, and I did pick this up on audio. I highly suggest, if you have access to the audio version, listen to it. It was so worth it. I think it is a very well done audio. I absolutely loved it. It kept me engaged. I was laughing. I was kicking my feet. This is a YA contemporary romance, kind of like a Groundhog trope. It's Valentine's Day. Our girl is going to high school. She's a junior. She can't wait to see her boyfriend. She's going to tell him that she loves him for the first time. They're going to exchange gifts. She ends up finding out that her boyfriend cheated on her. Every day she wakes up and has to relive this. And I don't want to say anything else. I loved this book. I cannot tell you how much I loved it. I loved it so much. It's a 5-star. I thought that I was out of my YA era. Lynn Painter proved me wrong. I want to read more by her. I feel like Lynn Painter deserves all of the hype for her YA romance, and definitely pick this up if you want just a lighthearted, fun YA contemporary romance that isn't very long, and if you want to, pick it up on audio because it was the best time. I finally picked up the last book that was on those 4 book picks, and that is The Kingmaker by Kennedy Ryan. My husband picked up this one, and I think The Rebel King, which is the second book in the duet. So I picked this up, did not have a good time. I'm sorry to say, it's a 2-star for me, to be honest. I did not feel the romance. I mean, there is spice in here, and the spice is done well. I'm not gonna lie. But the story and the whole plot around the book, I was not feeling. I did not like. I didn't want to continue. I had no feeling or desire to pick up the second book to finish out this duet. I don't know what it was, guys. I was living a high off of my book slump, read 2 back-to-back books that were just absolutely phenomenal and 5-star reads, and then I get to this and it just kind of set me back. I wasn't loving it. I kept pushing through thinking that, okay, we've set up the story and now we're going to get to the good plot points, and for me, I don't think there was any. Basically, you're following a girl who lives on a reservation. She protests against, the pipelining and different things that go against, making the world better and greener, and her mom ends up being killed or kidnapped. We don't even know what happened to her mom. I think she did die, but we never see the body, so she could still be alive. I don't know. It's all due to Cade Industries, and she ends up meeting Maxim whenever she is 17 and in jail. They have like this instant chemistry. Well, 10 years later, I think it was, they end up running into each other again, but she doesn't know that he is the son of the owner of Cade Industries, so he says that my name is Maxim Kingsman and not Maxim Cade. They have this romance, and I'm not going to say anything else, but I just did not feel it. I did not feel it at all. I'm okay with just putting it down. I will be reading more from Kennedy Ryan because I have heard so many good things about her writing and her other books, but this one in particular just isn't for me. The final book that I read in March is an ARC as well off of NetGalley, and that is Savor It by Tara DeWitt. The book comes out May 21st. I loved this book, you guys. It is small town. It is guy comes to the small town. He's like some big macho from New York who is a chef, and he has like 3 Michelin stars, but things do not go very well for him in his career life. So now he goes to Oregon, to this small town, to basically start a restaurant there by an owner. They want him to kind of craft what the menu would be like for, the locals and make sure that it is something that would be a big hit. So he moves there. He is basically raising his niece because her mother had died, and they just do not have a good relationship. He's trying, she's reluctant, she's a teenager, and he ends up moving into this rental next to our main girl. I'm gonna tell you right now, you guys, swoon worthy. I loved every minute of it. I loved the banter. I loved the communication. I was giggling and kicking my feet. So if you are a Tara DeWitt fan, this is my first time reading from her, but if you are a fan of her writing, you love those small town romances, pick this book up when it comes out in May. It was so worth it. I gave it 4 stars, but it is a very high 4 stars. I am so excited to read Funny Feelings by her because that is on my April TBR. I just can't stop raving about it enough. All right, everyone, those are the 17 books that I read in March. Have you read any of these books? Are you looking forward to reading any of these books? Or have I inspired you in some way to pick up any of these books? Please let me know in the comments below. I always love to hear your feedback and know what books you're liking, maybe what book recommendations I gave you. I always want to know if you end up loving them as well. If I had to take away a single book in this video, it's going to be very hard because the Zodiac Queen series is amazing. You have Savor It, which is amazing. The Do-Over, The Other Side of the Mirror. But if I give you one suggestion out of here and one only, go pick up The Other Side of the Mirror by Dana Evan that comes out in a week. It is so good. I promise you will not regret it. And I can't wait until you see my next video because that is going to be my March unboxing. And I don't think it's quite as bad as February was, but I'm pretty excited nonetheless. And I hope you all had a good Easter, a great start to your April, and I will see you next time. Bye!